Oh, hata tato. So I was sitting in there going, oh, that's me. I need to get up there. Roha mai. Ata tato. Ko e au e tuana ki mui a koutou, he uri anō no taranaki maunga me te aitanga māhiki. Ata maria. Can you push that video, please? That one.
The pure springs flow from deep within Papatuānuka, sourced from the majestic Ruahine, encircling and entwining like the fronds of kōwhaiwhai, binding together like whakapapa that unites us as a whānau, hapu and iwi. The tranquil healing energy from the rivers and streams, which decorate the many pathways taken on one's journey to reaching new heights. Standing at the peak of Te Tihi o Ruahine, I greet the knowledge, power, and integrity it bestows.
Te Tihi is an alliance of 9 iwi, hapu, and Māori organisations from Horowhenua, Palmerston North, Tararua, and Manawatu. Te Tihi strives to inspire a collective approach with a constant and unwavering commitment to whānau. Te Tihi achieve these aspirations through the delivery of the Whānau Ora Navigation Service and the development of products, processes and projects alongside our partners and whānau.
Oh, kia ora whānau. I just feel, mihi to those who've come. It's been a little bit unnerving and a little bit unsettling to have to think about getting up here in front of you all this morning. So just want to sort of acknowledge that if I start shaking and move my place in here. But really, I was talking to my tāne about this particular kaupapa and been asked to talk about an example of how we use data in our particular project in Palmerston North. And so I was talking to him and he talked to me about this whakatauki, nā te pakiaka tū ai te rakau. And he talks about the relationships, the unseen relationships or the unseen aspects that grow and nurture relationships. The pakiaka that lie underneath the rakau, we can't see those, and so that becomes the unseen part. What we see is the growth above the ground, and it's only then that we know whether we've been nourishing those root systems in the best way we can to achieve a flourishing rakau. For us, being able to understand that and be proactive in what we feed the rakau is really important, and I've likened this to how we use data and what we collect, how we use it, and then how we feed that back to whānau. The data that's around us, it's unseen. Data's everywhere. We'll have feedback here for the conference over the last 3 days, and that'll contribute to another database. Ultimately, obviously, that data is going to be used to inform what went well, what didn't go so well, and then what can we do a bit better in the next time. Just to kind of try and keep it simple. Data's always been a bit scary. In my mind anyway, it's often been a lot of numbers, graphs, and things I just really don't understand. But I must say, over our journey over the last few years, data's become the new sexy. It's really interesting, eh? When you can drill down to it, but more importantly, when you can give substance to it, and you can make it relevant, and you can make it understandable, so you can actually do something with it. Just in terms of what we're doing, quickly, Kāinga Whānau Water is our collective impact initiative. We are working with 150 whānau in Housing New Zealand and Palmerston North. We have 4 goals. One is around the physicality of the house, ensuring that that's safe, warm, the environments and the communities that our whānau live in. Secondly is around providing opportunities and pathways for whānau to grow their knowledge so that they can make more informed choices for themselves, not have choices made for them. The third one is around supporting our whānau to live in healthy, loving relationships that are free of violence. Bringing that all together, we know that fourthly is around having to have an eye on the policy and systemic, because that's what really drives the service delivery. You might get somebody who's really understanding at the front office today, but tomorrow you might get somebody else who's driven by a totally different kaupapa. So those We have also 15 partners. Some have come up to the conference today. As you can see, we have quite a few government organisations. We have some really good relationships with people as a result of this particular kaupapa. We also have 3 kaiwhakaarara or whānau water navigators who are here and are part of a wider whānau water navigation service who work alongside our whānau. With that, they use, some of you may have been able to be fortunate to listen to Jean and Bruce yesterday deliver their workshop around our process of engagement using Te Ara Whānau water. Yes, we start from an aspirational space, and there has been some kōrero about, whānau are coming in crisis, and yes, they do. But we don't have the right to take that opportunity and those moments for whānau to dream. We should be creating those moments in amongst the chaos and the crisis. Yes, they're important, and yes, we need to deal with it, but we also have an obligation to give whānau some, even if it's 5 minutes today to dream, 10 minutes tomorrow, it doesn't matter as long as it's growing in those opportunities, because they may not get that opportunity anywhere else in their lives. So for us, we start with that whānau moemoeā. When we're collecting information, and the information that whānau give us, they're driving that process. This is what they want to do. And so we have been working with whānau about, well, what's important to you? What is it that needs to be collected? We know that we get lots of information collected. If you're involved with a government agency, there's data for Africa on you. There is data everywhere, and you don't actually get to have access to that data readily. When we've got a really robust informed consent process, which talks to whānau about being involved with the pilot, being involved with the navigation service, but also that we have an agreement to share data with those partners that were up on here before. Now, that's not a free-for-all access to the databases. It's about, we've been around and done some of that work about agreeing on what are some of the shared measures that we feel and whānau feel are important that they need to know about from those organisations. So we need to make that meaningful so that whānau can have informed decision making. We have got those development of the online, they're called dashboards. Dashboards is not really that entertaining a word. Portals, it's really about what are the pathways for whānau to be able to access that information. So they're not necessarily having to come through us or having to go through that government department, that they're actually able to click on something and be able to readily access that information. Sorry. I think most of all, and what's really important, is that we have a role as kaitiaki. Often as organisations, we kind of probably behave a bit like we're the owners of that data. But actually we are in a kaitiaki custodian role. And we need to be really cognisant of that, because as anybody will know, if you've tried to actually get your information, you have to fill out this form and that form, and it'll take 10 days to process, and then it will turn around. And you kind of ended up with quite a rejected piece of paper with more blackouts than words. So we have to be able to do things differently with the data and how we access that and what ways we provide it. I mean, we talked about, yes, there is a lot of stuff going on about people just trying to make ends meet. With the data, what we've also found is that while we might know that, we're not connecting the dots. If whānau are involved with multiple organisations, they're doing the connecting of the dots for us, and they're having to run around between us to do that. We are now being able to see with whānau that, yes, this is the reality. We know that you're on a benefit here, we know that you're paying this out there, we know that this is happening, and we know that your house is cold, but we're going to keep doing it the same way, so next month you're still doing the same thing. And we need to kind of break that cycle. Connecting that information and connecting the dots means that we can then go to whānau and say, hey, here's the whole picture of what's going on. How does that line up with the aspirations that you have to move forward? Is this relevant? Is it beneficial for what you're trying to do to move forward? So that's also around the way that we're using the data. Like everybody else, we've got reporting, we use whānau Tihi as well as another repository of information. Along the way, it has become a bit of a reporting tool, and we have been trying really hard in our space to pull it back to say, whānau share our kōrero with us, and they need to have a really safe and secure place for that kōrero to be retained. So whānau Tihi, with all its warts and all, should actually be our electronic safe repository of information. It has moved a little bit more that we're using it as the only reporting tool, and we probably need to just pull that back in a little bit. We're also building our own evidence base with the data we collect. What's also really important is that data is often numbers, but our whānau narratives, the whānau kōrero, that's data, that's information, that's richer than half the numbers that we get. When we're able to pull those two things together and then present them back, then we have a fuller picture. Whānau have a fuller picture of what's going on. Also, those organisations that are involved with our whānau also have a fuller picture, because they're still making decisions in isolation from whānau, and that needs to stop, basically. So I think the data is also power. It's power for our whānau. It's power for them to be able to make decisions that are informed, and informed with the whole picture, not just the bits and pieces if you've asked the right questions. Our data data ranges. We can have all the flashiest systems in the world, but unless we've got the people who know how to use them, they're pretty defunct. We have, over probably the last 8 years, and I know there's kaimahi here that we've had since the beginning of this journey with us. We started off with a simple Word document as a way of collecting data. We then moved to a bit of a simple Excel spreadsheet. Then we got really flash and we jumped it up to a flash Excel spreadsheet. Our first way of feeding back to kaimahi about the work that they were doing was, I think, 2 pie graphs and 2 bar graphs. And that was the extent, because the extent of the skill base at the time was mine, and that's all I knew how to do. And so that is really what's important, is making sure we've got the right people doing the right jobs. Otherwise, we'll be back to 2 pie graphs and 2 bar graphs, which are absolutely probably no use at all. But our people who are in that background, they're also the unseen heroes who sit in the background. We give them a bit of grief because they're doing number crunching and all the rest of it, and why do they need this, that and the other. But that's when the power of the whānau narratives and the whānau kōrero comes in to give it substance. Otherwise it is just a whole list of numbers. But we've also got numerous audiences. Not only have we got our whānau, but we've also got and how we're going to improve that service delivery, whether it's whānau ora or whatever that service delivery is, if we don't have some feedback. How do we challenge the systems that are current if we can't be able to say, hey, this isn't working, and we can show you this isn't working, but we can also show you that this works. This approach over here works. So it's not just about disproving something, it's about actually showing that we're doing this and it's working and it's having better results than what you've had in a very long time. So our whānau who have these skills and knowledge are invaluable. And we're also having to learn about having to grow that skill set, because as we kind of think, oh, what else can we do? What else can we do? Oh, who else can do that? We have to start stretching our kaimahi further so that they can do more for our whānau and being able to pull that back. So our kaimahi are extremely important in that sense. So like I was just saying, this is our new thing. This is our new data exchange. It's a diagram of it. I'm not actually sure what it looks like, because yet again it's invisible, it's stuck inside a computer and it does a lot of flash whizzy bang things, of which I don't know any of them. But again, like I said, we started from quite humble beginnings with Word documents to Excels. We did have a SharePoint. If anybody knows what SharePoint is, I didn't know what it was until about a year ago. But it became a much safer repository for us to exchange data and information with our partners who are in the pilot. But as usual, and I know I've got some of our partners in here, it's a manual system and it caused a headache every single quarter. We had whānau who are with working with whānau, who are then having to go into all these databases within their own organisation to pull data out from here, from here, from here. What it highlighted was the absolute convoluted system that we have to collect data in many organisations. They couldn't just go to one space, press a button and it just whizzed over here. They actually had to go and grab this from there, grab this from there, grab this from there. So you think about when whānau turn up and go, well, can you tell me what my story is with your organisation? And people go, oh, I have to ask so-and-so. And it's actually a reality. And whānau get hoha. Why do you want to keep running around like that? and when the people in front of you can't even give you a straight answer. So that has been a real challenging space, more so for our partners to be able to get there, and then for our data analysts to be able to then spend quite a long period of time cleaning that data up. And so we've now moved to, with the Social Investment Agency, the data exchange, which my understanding is that it's basically about a data superhighway with little things connected onto ministry databases. It's not a free access to all the information that's in there, but there are some agreed data measures that we have that we're looking to transport across the data superhighway. So we are now in a point where we have built the database that receives all of that information and are now waiting for those ministries to basically flick their switch on so that some of that data can start flowing through. We also, the IDI is the new thing, the Integrated Data Infrastructure. Like, oh, this is what happens when you use those acronyms all the time, you forget what they actually mean. But as basically a data brain, really, held by Stats NZ, of a lot of information. So we are just working alongside them about being able to have access to there, because it's like Spy City. You can't get in there, you can't just waltz in there, the room is all frosted, you have to have a pass in, you have to do all sorts to get in there. So we're fortunate that we have kaimahi in our space who, that's their thing. They're fab with that. That's what they're really good with. And so we are working along SIA about how we can have access to that so that we can do whatever work we need to do in that space. So that's pretty exciting for us and for the pilot, and being able to make some comparisons with what we're doing. So as you see, most of our people are on. We will still have some organisations who will still continue to do a manual reporting to us and giving us their information. There has been a little bit of resistance in some parts as people, ministries and organisations come on board with actually give that data up, it's not yours. So I think that's just taking a little moment for some people and some organisations to get their heads around that it's actually not yours and you just need to start sharing. In terms of pulling that data together, this is kind of just an example of a practical example, I suppose, of what we're doing. So as I was talking about before with Te Ara Whānau Water, we start with a whānau and their moimoia, their aspirations, their goals as a whānau. This Ruahine and her babies, and we've talked to this lady, and she's fine for us to be sharing this kōrero with you. But these dot points up here were her goals and her aspirations at a whānau. She was in a pretty low space at the time. She was in emergency accommodation with her babies, she wasn't working, she had a few health issues going on. And really, when you look at the goals and aspirations, you know, whānau just want a safe place to be. They want a warm place to be. They won't kai in their cupboards. You know, I often say to our kaimahi though, but if somebody turns around and says to you, I want to be an astronaut, then you write it down and you work through them. Because that's their goals and aspirations, and we don't have a right to say whether that's right or wrong. But this Ruahine didn't want to be an astronaut. But her comments down the bottom about feeling like a whole new person on an amazing journey since being part of Te Tihi, from going from being almost homeless and taking it step by step to getting to where I am now. I have a place I can call home, my car is up to date, my cupboards have food in them. I was able to send my son away on school camp. I have an amazing job and things are going really well at the moment, and it's all because of the amazing support from several organisations. So there's quite a few organisations that were involved working alongside her. Often our organisations are working with or on people, not alongside them. So what we're, I suppose, trying to do through the pilot is also change that behaviour with our partner organisations and stop working in isolation, stop working in silos, and start working together with whānau at the table, which is often a bit of a challenge for that. I heard Pa Mason saying the other Monday through the live stream, we watch the technology, about some feedback about whānau, why can't whānau be part of writing their case notes? When they've been engaging with us and sharing their kōrero with us, they should be a part of that, because then they're contributing to the design of the data and the information that's collected. And that's only pono to be able to actually offer that opportunity to whānau to do that. Where am I? So this was just an example of bringing that together for Our Lady. So those are, in that wagon wheel there, are the organisations that are involved in the pilot, and where she had touch points with those particular organisations. And there was also parts where, okay, they worked directly with her, Housing New Zealand, MSD, but we also had some other opportunities that we can see in the data. She's got 2 babies enrolled at school. We've got Ministry of Education online. If there are particular services within schools and that they can access or facilitate for whānau, then we definitely tap into those. She had some issues around dental health stuff, so we were able to connect her with Pai Ora team, who is our Māori health team at the hospital. So the data sometimes also gives us access to information for whānau about what are the other opportunities that are maybe just not thought about, they're not on top, but actually can help to contribute to that whānau moving forward to their goals and dreams. We have quite a lot of information, I was saying, about people's debt. People know they've got debt, they know how much money comes in, they know how much money goes out, and they know how much is left over, and sometimes there's not a heck of a lot. I suppose the bit is the breaker, the circuit breaker in between about how do we stop doing that every month. You know, whānau keep coming back in for the same things. Are we supporting them to do things any differently? What are the other opportunities that we can access that may change that picture for whānau? One other initiative that we did, and this is again around working with our partners and bringing that data and information, we had through a relationship, because things are often all about relationships. We were able to bring a dentist from the north down for a week with her dental nurse, and for 1 week they basically just worked from sun up to sundown, seeing whānau who were part of the pilot. So as you see over the Saturday, Sunday, we had 95 of the whānau within the pilot who were booked in to just come and have a quick check-up, see what was going on. And then they were booked in during the week. So 54 were completed, and we had 44 whānau who came in over Monday to Thursday. So it's only a 4-day week as well, it wasn't a 5-day. We had a whole lot of teeth go to heaven, a whole load of them. I don't know about who else, but I'm not good with the dentist. But we had whānau lining up to come to this. They wanted to go and see the dentist. They had been in pain for, I don't know, a long time. And those teeth that came out weren't just that they maybe had a bit of a hole in prevention, they were rotten. They were rotten teeth. And that was having an effect on how whānau were, their health, their well-being, their confidence. You know, if you've got teeth and you're not wanting to go to a job interview because you might have to talk or smile and then they're going to see your rotten teeth, people don't go and do those things. So it affects their ability to then be able to pick up other opportunities. So we had some whānau who had some full clearance of teeth out. And some of these whānau were in about their late 30s, 40s. So we're not old, at all. But what we've also done is that you can see that it was about 66K worth of work over that period of time, equating to about $1,500 per person. Now, not everybody could finish all the work that was required during that particular time period. So what we're doing now is actually working with our partners, because we know that people can access, say, the emergency dental fund, $300 non-recoverable through MSD. We're seeing those whānau that were working that are entitled to a community services card but don't actually have one because the paperwork is just too much of a mission. We're working with MSD to say we're not going to be sending everybody in one by one. We know who they are, we know who needs the card, we know who doesn't have the card. So we're going to do some of that work. We've also got one of our kaimahi who is talking to a couple of the dentists in our areas about giving us a bulk quote for whānau to be able to have the dental work done. So we're starting to use all of that information that we gather and the relationships that we have to connect the dots for our whānau, because we started that process with them, so we've got a responsibility to finish it off with them as well. So we also have our general health if there's any issues in that space. So it's been, for us, the data has become interesting because we can do stuff like this. We can pull information out that we couldn't access before. And I know our kaimahi go, oh, what am I going to do with that now? And there's always a tension between screening, asking our whānau screening information when we're in an aspirational space, but how's your dental, and when did you last go to the doctor, and so some of those things don't always fit into that space, but we do have to find a way to have the conversation, because we get this information, and the information is power to us, and we need to shift that power back to whānau so that they can make those decisions and they can make those connections in the way that they need to make them. So I think, wow, I've got through all my little notes here. Our live streaming, our data people, I do have to say that our data people who are at home, who have pulled this together, have done an amazing job. This isn't my work at all. I just stand up here and deliver it, and so it's just about acknowledging those that actually, this is a joint team effort. I just happen to be the one standing up here, but we're standing up here to make a difference for our whānau. And I've heard that this morning in more of a revolutionary way, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to try and keep that energy up, and I don't know if I can. But it has been really inspiring again to hear that about, yes, we're telling whānau, come on, we need to move along. What are we going to do here? What do you want to do? How do you break out of that? So we need to do that too, instead of being complacent about, oh, well, we'll just be at the mercy of this, that and the other. And that's what we've heard this morning. We've kind of been curtailing to quite a number of policies and what have you for a very long time. And now, as the fire says, now is the time to stand up and be revolutionary about how we do that. We have, and that's around our leadership as well and how we do that. So I think the main thing, though, just sort of going back to that start around that whakatauki, is about how we nourish and how we feed the roots system that actually grows that rakau to be strong. And it's about achieving those outcomes for whānau. And I think I just wanted to, the final video is kind of like the best part of the whole presentation, really, because it's about the whakatinana i ngā kaupapa o tēnei kōrero around those whānau water outcomes, because it's about our whānau and how we do the best for them. So, ngā mihi atu ki a tātou katoa, and it's going to work.